Well, a warm welcome to today's launch broadcast. It's July 11th, 2025. My name is Martin Wayland. I'm a ground support equipment consultant for Ecliptic Space, and I will be your launch commentator for today's webcast.
And I'm Limnisket Biscuit, an integration intern at Ecliptic Space. I'll be joining the mic for today. On your screen is a live view of MAYDAN, our reusable two-stage launch vehicle sitting on Launch Complex 57 at Ecliptic Space Center. The weather and range is looking good for today, with an 86% go for liftoff, and we're continuing to get active support from the 59th Weather Squadron. We're seeing all systems green for a launch attempt in 14 minutes. Of course, if that changes, we have multiple backup launch dates, including one on Monday and another on Wednesday. But it's looking like today might be the day. So let's hope that everything keeps looking good.
That's exactly right, Lemnisket. Today, everything is looking good to go, and we're confident that's going to keep looking that way. So stay tuned for an exciting launch coming up in just under 15 minutes. Today marks the first launch of this vehicle, which has been in development for the past several years. 6.5 years ago, Ecliptic Space was founded from a merger of Magnetar Aerospace and Aerostar Incorporated. And since then, under our new management, we've been working to deliver a fully reusable rocket. And that's what you see on your screen right now. MAYDAN V1 represents our two-stage reusable launch vehicle. It's about 80 meters tall and a total liftoff mass of about 5,000 metric tons. The system has a high-thrust booster stage, which is the long silver component that you see on your screen, and a vacuum-optimized upper stage. Now, that's the part with the black heat shield that sits on top. Both of these are sitting on our custom launch pad built at Ecliptic Space Center that started construction about 2.5 years ago. Since then, we've been able to put together ground infrastructure and enough components to field our first launch attempt for today. We've been testing these vehicles pretty thoroughly, and we've got a little bit of a preview at that testing process for you all today. Our marketing and media team has put together a bit of a video, and we're going to play that for you right now. We're just under T-minus 12 minutes from launch now. As you could see, our teams have put a lot of effort into getting us to today. We've gone through a lot of testing, a lot of construction, and the vehicle on the pad right now represents the conjoined effort of at least 8 different engineering teams today. We couldn't be prouder to have them on board with us. Now we're going to talk a little bit more about the launch vehicle and some of the specifications it's got. Lemny, if you want to tell us a little bit about the engines, what kind of fuels we've got going here, talk to us about that.
Absolutely. So the first stage needs a lot of power to make sure that its second stage can get into orbit and, deliver all of the goodies to space. And it is powered by a total of 20 engines. These 20 engines, they are burning kerosene and liquid oxygen propellant, which provides the reaction mass and thrust to get it off the pad. Now, the second stage needs a lot more energy, and it needs to actually get the stuff into orbit and, make sure it stays there. As such, it uses 6 engines, which are vacuum optimized. They use liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen, which provides the energy and the specific impulse needed to make sure that the second stage and its payloads manage to get into space. Now, Martin, can you tell us about, like the thermal protection system on the second stage, what it does, how it functions?
Of course. For those observant members in our webcast, you'll notice that second stage on top of the booster has a bit of black material on it. Now, that black material is our proprietary heat shield. It utilizes a variety of thermal ceramics to give us the best possible chances of entering the atmosphere when the ship screams in, which we'll see after our liftoff in just under T minus 10 minutes now. That heat shield allows the second stage to survive the brutal forces of entry. The booster has a parabolic trajectory that will see less heating than the ship. So when our ship eventually comes in after an orbital flight, it's going to plow through the air. We're going to get some reentry plasma, and that black heat shield material is going to ensure that that ship can survive, uh, go through a flip maneuver, and then land eventually at this tower. Now, of course, it is worth mentioning for those just joining us that we're not going to be catching or landing either of the vehicles today. This is a development flight, as we like to say in the industry. Today, we're testing for the data. That means that our booster and ship aren't exactly going to go through the same testing regimen that a normal flight would. Lemny, you want to tell us what we can expect that booster and ship to do today?
All right. So this flight is actually going to be suborbital, meaning that it's actually not really going to stay in space for that too long. The basic flight path, the ship is going to launch into space, take a parabolic trajectory, make sure that we're maximizing the amount of energy that we're using in order to get the vehicle into space. After that, we'll have a stage separation in which the booster and the upper stage will separate from each other. From there, the first stage, or the booster, will try to perform a boost back burn to get back to the ground safely. It'll also perform a few other burns to protect itself from the crushing heat of, re-entry heating. And the second stage will be continuing on from there. It's going to be entering space. And then from there, it's going to perform a little short burn to make sure that it stays in there for a little longer. It's going to perform a few tests of, I believe it's going to be the payload bays. It's going to be a few tests of that. After that, it's going to be returning back to Earth. It's going to use that heat shield to protect itself. From there, we're going to try to land. If we can't, the mission will be ending there. Now, can you tell us, Martin, how will this launch vehicle actually be reused, and what cost-saving elements were put into it?
Yeah, happy to do that for you, Lemny. The launch vehicle you see on screen is truly revolutionary. As we know, about 8 years ago, Echelon Aerospace demonstrated the first landing of a booster with their Electron 3 rocket, and that showed that a booster from the first stage can actually land itself back on a pad. MAYDAN takes that a step further. The first stage booster is designed to land on its landing legs, but that upper stage is also designed from the ground up with reusability in mind. You'll notice that launch tower has a bit of a strange protuberance from it, you might call it. Kind of looks like a big arm coming out of the top, a big protractor. That's essentially what it is. It's a set of 2 arms that are meant to catch the ship as it comes in for its landing. That's why the ship doesn't feature any landing legs. It's an extremely optimized vehicle meant for space flight, and we're trying to get as much dry mass off of it as we can. Again, we're not going to expect to see that ship caught today, but we're trying to validate the aeronautics of this spacecraft, the avionics, propulsion, guidance, all of our teams coming together to get this test vehicle in the air. So we're coming up
Upper
on
stage
almost T
and
minus
lower
6
stage
minutes.
fueling initiated.
Beautiful. Like you heard right there, we got fueling going on our upper stage. We're going to see those fuel valves closing out coming up in the next couple minutes before we lift off. Again, just like your car, we're trying to top off the gas before we head on the road. For those of us just joining today, You're seeing Maiden V1 at Adderpole Launch Center, preparing for its first ever demo flight. Lemny, you want to talk a little bit about what safety features we've got in place, how we might have cleared out the area to make sure that everything goes smoothly?
Absolutely. First, I'll talk about the main protection systems. And the main thing about this launch vehicle is that it's big. And if it crashes anywhere, we want to make sure that it's in multiple pieces so that they do less damage. And the thing we have installed is called a flight termination system. Essentially, if something really bad goes wrong, we can trigger it and it will blow the entire vehicle up. That does also mean that the vehicle is destroyed, but that is for the safety of people around. Secondly, we have also managed to coordinate with a few other organizations to make sure that the area around the launch pad is secure. For instance, the ocean that is next to the launch pad, it has been cleared. Make sure that there aren't any ships in the area or planes. There's a no-fly zone. And basically, this ensures that if the vehicle were to blow up, there would be no people in the area that could get harmed. Now, Martin, can you tell us about like what what is on the first stage? Like, how does it keep all that propellant cold? Because it's cryogenic. So, like, what's on there?
Yeah, absolutely. So the reason that we use cryogenic propellants is because those are the temperatures at which certain materials like oxygen turn into liquid. And we keep this vehicle fueled up all the way until about 10 seconds to launch. So we make sure those tanks are topped off. You've seen some venting from the vehicle so far, and that's our boil off vent feed lines. Those are essentially the liquid oxygen and propellant boiling off
Payload
as it
pressure
heats up.
check.
And we just heard there we're coming up on under T minus 4 minutes. Perfect call outs there. But again, what you're seeing with that first stage is those chilled propellants. Then those engines just completely drink that
Pressure
chilled
level inside
propellant.
payload are stable. Might need to
Beautiful.
check
Hearing some
again
great
sooner.
call outs here today. And then that
Running
booster's also
control
got some
diagnostics.
very distinctive grid fins on its top. That'll make sure that the booster's controlled as it comes in for its boost back and atmospheric entry. Now, like you heard before from Lemny, the ship, the upper stage, that's got different propellant. It's got liquid hydrogen. The reason we've got that is the ISP is a little better. You're going to be more efficient in space than the raw thrust needed to get off the ground from the booster. As this thing lifts off, you're going to see those engines ignite in a staggered sequence. We're going to make sure that the pad's able to support this vehicle. All fuel lines are going to be closed off. And then just under 3 minutes from now, we should see Maiden taking off into the sky.
Control diagnostics testing completed.
A beautiful call out there. We're hearing that the internal guidance systems of our launch vehicle are looking good for today's flight. Coming up on T minus 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Everything's continuing to look good. Range should be pretty clear.
Stage 1 and 2 fuel dropped off.
Beautiful. And we've got fuel top off. Lemny, has a rocket this big ever flown before? What do you think?
I don't think so. This is a pretty groundbreaking vehicle, I must say.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Now, not only is Ecliptic Space trying to lower the cost to orbit, but we're also doing so at an enormous scale. Maiden's built to be one of the biggest launch vehicles in the world, one of the most optimized for sure. We're not dealing with an interstage here, folks. We're trying to make this thing as lightweight as we can so we can deliver as much payload to orbit. Like you heard
Upper
before,
stage
we're going to
and
be
lower
trying.
stage fuel completed.
Beautiful. Fuel loading's looking complete. We're going to see those cargo doors open up during flight. We're going to give that a test coming up on T minus 1 minute soon. We'll stay a little more quiet on our end. We'll listen into the nets and we'll see how this launch goes.
Rocket is in internal power now. Vehicle has been stabilized. Tank pressure on internal power.
This is Launch Director. We are go for launch. Godspeed MAYDAN. Godspeed Ecliptic Space. T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Ignition.
Liftoff.
And liftoff. Pitch program is in. Roll program is in.
We are T plus 30 seconds into the flight. Pitch over's looking good, systems looking good, coming up on max Q.
Max
Vehicle
Q.
passes through the point of maximum aerodynamic pressure, also known as max Q.
Beautiful, we just heard that call out there. Booster and ship are screaming through the atmosphere. We're gonna come up on stage separation pretty soon.
Booster engines throttled down in preparation to cutoff. Main engine cutoff will occur at 80 kilometers altitude and velocity at 2.7 kilometers per second.
Main engine cutoff and stage separation.
Beautiful stage separation. Booster's gonna flip for its boost back.
On stage
Booster
separation,
has been separated
flip.
cleanly and will begin its controlled flip maneuver for boost back. Upper stage ignition
Boost back.
sequence.
We see that boost back burn starting up. Again, that booster's not coming into land today. We're gonna try and give it a soft splashdown in the Atlantic Ocean. We should see those engines cut off at around plus 2 minutes.
Planet hasn't been saying anything.
Okay. Booster cutoff.
You can see boosters shut off its engines. Those grid fins like we talked about, those have deployed. Those are gonna guide the booster in as it goes hypersonic through our atmosphere
Griffin
today.
deployed.
Seco.
The call out there, we just heard SECO, or second engine cutoff. That means our ship is now in its suborbital trajectory. Everything's looking good. We're gonna catch up on boosters trajectory coming up soon. Hopefully that's gonna have a nice soft splashdown in the ocean. Next up, we're gonna see some cargo bay testing on our ship.
We have achieved suborbital velocity.
And here comes
We
our
just retard.
booster. And you can see the plasma as the booster screams into the ocean. Here we go. It looks like we're seeing some structural pieces coming off a little bit. We got the engines firing for that landing burn. Here we go. A little bit of pitch, maybe a little bit.
Here come the legs.
And that looks
There it
like we've
goes.
lost connection with
It's
our
all right.
booster right there. Well, it does look like our booster did in fact land in the ocean, perhaps in more pieces than we would have liked, but I'm sure that data will be absolutely invaluable for our engineering team. Don't click away. We still got our ship, still got that mission going on here, and that entry will come up in about 2 more minutes. Lemny, you want to tell us what we can expect when that ship hits the atmosphere?
Absolutely. First of all, it's similar in fashion to the booster. So once we enter the atmosphere, there's going to be a plasma buildup around the heat shield. After that, the heating is going to decrease. We're going to perform a coast through the atmosphere. After that, we're going to flip the ship, light up the engines, and hopefully we'll get a landing.
Vehicle is in its closed phase.
Hearing now over the nets, our team's trying to work a problem with one of those payload doors. We might be able to fix it in time for entry, but if not, again, it's not an issue. We've cleared the range before the launch. We got a whole avenue out in the ocean where no ships are expected to come by. So hopefully we get that problem worked out, but if we don't, it's not the end of the world. Going to be coming up on that re-entry envelope pretty soon. So stay tuned to see that plasma building on the heat shield side of the ship. Got some beautiful tracking views. You can see actually the moon in the background. What a cinematic sight as our ship begins preparations for its entry.
It appears that that door has become disconnected.
Ship cargo door attempt to failure.
Yeah, and you can see the start of entry. I think that's the last we'll see of that cargo bay door, ladies and gentlemen, but ship's pitching over. Looks like we're getting control back.
Re-entry phase.
Oh, looks like we've got a bit of structural cracking at the nose. Coming up on that landing burn soon.
Seems the attitude has failed.
And
I
not
think the
quite.
nose
We
is
got the
starting to-
engines cutting off.
Yeah.
Brake. Gridfin. Wait.
And that's like that might be the end of ship, ladies and gentlemen.
We have a failure.
All right. Well, that was an absolute mission right there, ladies and gentlemen. We had an on-time liftoff just about 8 or 9 minutes ago of Maiden V1. Our ascent looked golden. All 20 engines fired nominally. We had a great liftoff and pitch over and separation. Looks like we lost booster on the landing. One of the grid fins, as we heard over the nets, may have dislocated at some point. Booster landed in a few more pieces than we would have liked, but we'll get that data soon. ship. Looks like we had a small issue with the cargo door, but we had that ship enter as well. Heat shield team's going to get their information off of that. And it looks like we also did lose the ship. But it's an astounding first flight for all of our teams. Congratulations all around, and onwards until the next flight. Lemny, who can we thank for this great mission?
Well, I think we can thank all the teams behind this vehicle. I think we can thank the booster team. I think we can thank the ground support team for that awesome looking. I mean, look at that launch structure. The lab team for all the testing. I think we can also thank the upper stage team. I mean, all the teams. They should all get credit.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. Well, thank you all very much for tuning in. We'll have more information and some footage for you later. But have yourselves a wonderful day. Thanks for stopping by Ecliptic Space. Stay grounded, but aim higher.